With us today, we have the Chief Financial Officer of Mitel, Steve Spooner. Thank you so much for taking the time for joining us today.
It's my pleasure to be here.
Now, I want to get straight into the message here today. You just recently made a big acquisition that is really on the lips of everybody. And it's an exciting acquisition because, once again, it puts Mitel into a category that it actually elevates you to a whole other level within the UCaaS industry. And it's a very exciting acquisition for the company. But once again, we know with ShoreTel, this was an acquisition that was initially considered, and then a few years later, it's come to fruition. So maybe let's talk about the first aspect of this whole acquisition, which is why ShoreTel? Why this company? Why did they stand out for you?
So ShoreTel, in many ways, is very much like Mitel. Both of us have initially developed traditional enterprise products for telephony solutions, and over time have built an exciting cloud communications business, often referred to as UCaaS, as you say. As we look at doing acquisitions, we always look for companies that are as much as possible like ourselves, just to gain scale, to leverage each other's R&D capabilities, to leverage each other's channels to market, to augment our brand and our positioning in the global market. We think this is just an acquisition that just makes so much sense, as we basically do the same things, and we think we'll be stronger together. This acquisition propels us to a #2 market position in UC as a service, which is kind of where the world is going in terms of telephony. For folks who don't, perhaps aren't familiar with some of the jargon and the buzzwords, think of it how traditionally businesses would deploy telephone systems and applications and servers and on their premises, and they would look after them themselves. Well, in recent years, increasingly what companies are saying is, I'm in the business of real estate, or I'm in the business of retail, or I run a hospital, or a consulting firm. I'm not in the business of managing my own communications needs. So if I can have a company like Mitel manage my communication services for me as a service, and basically Mitel will worry about software upgrades and bug fixes and patches and rolling out new features, and all I have to do is pay X dollars per month per user. That's essentially what UCaaS is all about. And the world is very rapidly going there. It's a market that's growing roughly 17 to 20% a year, depending on whose forecast you look at. And again, Mitel is being, with this acquisition, we're propelled to a #2 market position, and we couldn't be more excited.
It is truly an amazing just industry and how it's involved. We talk about the cloud often. We know it's important. We know that, as you say, trying to make that aspect easier, more convenient for companies to get them off the ground quickly, because that communication tool is so important to just get the message across, sell their products, and build that brand. Maybe you can share with us a little bit. It is says that the UCaaS industry is an $88 billion a year industry. So it's a huge industry, and it's growing and evolving each and every single year. So clearly, as you say, it puts you within that marketplace. It really establishes you as a force to be reckoned with. How can you see companies, evolving to move to the cloud more than ever than they have, maybe because of how the industry is changing? I mean, once again, we know that it's becoming more and more necessary. But maybe you can share a little bit, how do you see over the next 3, 4, 5 years, things are going to change within this industry, and where it's going?
Well, I think following up my earlier comments, more and more people who run businesses today are saying they don't want to worry about these communications aspects and look to someone to manage that as a service for them. But I think one of the things that is really changing, and I think will continue to evolve over the next several years, is that it's not just about dial tone. It's about enabling applications that allow you as a business person to run your business more effectively. So more and more, what's driving businesses to move to cloud services, particularly on the communication side of things, is that it allows them, for example, where a sales vice president might have to call in all his or her salespeople to a weekly staff meeting. Well, now they don't have to do that, because they can get a on-demand video call together. They can share content, and people can kind of work where they need to work. They don't have to be in the office. So there's a whole bunch of applications that, some of which are very vertically focused. So in the hospitality sector or the healthcare sector or retail, applications are emerging that allow businesses to run in ways that have never been thought of before. And it's the communications enabling of these applications that is really driving even more value to the business. So think of, whether it's in an insurance application or a call center application, or your salespeople using a CRM tool, if you can initiate a call or a chat session or a video session when there's a service technician, on the ground and, dealing with experts back at the office who can see what the technician is seeing. So you just think of, how communications enabling all of these applications can drive value for business. That's where the world is going. And I think businesses originally were, depending on their size, a little bit reluctant to move to the cloud. Concerns around security, data sovereignty, things like that. Those are still things that we need to work through, but businesses are getting more and more comfortable as companies more broadly in the tech industry are taking those issues off the table.
Wonderful. And yes, it's so important, as you say, those issues as companies might have security and or privacy, and I know that's a big priority for all companies, especially like yourself, that is in the cloud industry and is helping companies move to that direction, and obviously educating the clients as well and saying, yes, we have these aspects in place to support you as a company, regardless of your size. Now, taking ShoreTel as just an example, it has been a key focus for you over the last few years to do more acquisitions in general. Now, it sounds kind of simple, why would you want to acquire more companies as part of your growth strategy? But maybe you can share with us a little bit why this is one of those key aspects for you as a company.
Sure. So as we look at our M&A strategy, there's really three key reasons for us to do M&A activity to augment our organic growth. The first is to fill a hole in a portfolio. So, think of it as an enabling technology, something that allows us to bring a richer suite of applications and technologies to our customers and channel partners. Secondly, it could be geographic coverage. So on attractive market, we could open up our own shop, so to speak, hang up a shingle, and over time develop business. That's one alternative. But if we could find a local channel to market, a local systems integrator, someone who we could bring Mitel's product capabilities to, and they already have the customer service relationships and capabilities in place, a sales route to market, familiarity with local cultures and government regulation, that can accelerate our growth in a geography that we're attracted to. And thirdly, scale. So when we look, for example, back at the Astra acquisition that we did in 2014, Mitel was a number 7 or number 8 market share holder at the time. And we were about a $500 or $600 million US business. We acquired Astra, we became a $1 billion business overnight. All of a sudden, we were number 1 in Europe in terms of market share, which we continue to enjoy today. Immediately, you're on the RFP lists, right? Immediately, the industry analysts are writing about you. The consultants who advise customers on which vendors to consider when they're evaluating use, whether cloud or on-premise solutions, you're going to be there just because of the size and scale. It also typically, scale acquisitions bring attractive opportunities for synergies. That means we can run a more profitable business that generates more cash flow, which allows us to invest for new product capabilities, right? And give us the capital that we